We have leveraged our planar tracking software inside of Silhouette, and Silhouette has made this beautiful paint package with their own planar tracker and their own point trackers. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit about what it does. So Silhouette is a paint package first and foremost. So that means if I've got a blemish like this on one of my lovely talent in my cut, I can use Silhouette as a roto paint tool and I can paint this out. So everybody's used to layers, right? Layers and tracks all day long, okay? This is really easy because it's a very, very similar to layers and tracks. It just doesn't look like it, all right? So, but it is similar, I promise, okay? And here's why. So here's our source. It's a little node. You see that node right there? My node, that's my source, okay? And then what we have is we have all of these effects. And as opposed to stacking effects up and we have them in a little panel, what we do is we drag our effects over. So I can actually come into here into my Silhouette tab, and I can take like a paint node, and I can just drop my paint node right here, and now this is my new paint node, and I can paint on my footage, okay? The cool thing about that is I have all of these tools over here that I can start to use. This is a lot like Nuke or Fusion for any of you guys who have ever touched Nuke or Fusion. Resolve also has a node tree in there, okay? Think of it as instead of a tree going up like this, okay, it's a tree going down like this. It's the roots of a tree, okay? So here's your trunk. Your trunk's going to be your footage, and then everything else is going to be your effects, and then you're going to go down to your exit node, okay? So upside down layers, node tree. All right, so what we do if we want to paint is, it's really cool. We can do a couple of things. We can just paint. So I can come over to my paint tools, and I can actually just paint colors on here. What's nice about the Silhouette tools, we can come to our clone tool, for example, and we can do our little offset, okay, and we can start to paint. This is our paint node, so here's our original. We've done our roto paint right here. And what we can do is we can keep painting if we want to, okay, but we're not actually going to keep painting. I'm going to undo that really quick. What we're going to do is we're going to use a tracker node. Now, Silhouette, since it doesn't use splines for its paint, we can't use splines to track, like in the paint node. We have to have a separate tracker node to paint. This is actually a good thing because this gives us more control over our data. It's not an extra step, it's more control, okay? Now, we can take this and we can track this. What I've done is I've come into my tracker and I've actually gone ahead and I've used the Mocha Tracker, and I'm just gonna show you what that looks like going through our shot. So there's our track of our paint. But here's what's really cool about our paint node. We can come into our paint node and we have this thing over here called auto paint. So I made my one brush stroke here, okay, and we're gonna say, I want you to match move, okay, and we're gonna match move based on this roto. So what we've done is we've just connected this little yellow box to this yellow box. We color code everything, unlike other node trees, so that things are a little bit easier to use so that you don't glaze over with nodes, okay, and what we can do is we can now auto paint this through by going rebuild. And yep, I want to rebuild everything. And what it'll do is, look, it'll repaint through my whole shot. See how it's painting my paint stroke over and over and over, according to my track? Right now, as we're talking. That is the power of Silhouette, okay? Now, I did not have to make a clean plate for this. I did not have to do any sort of shoot a clean plate, make a clean plate, or anything like that. I actually just painted this using the clone tool from the other parts of my shot, and I was able to just hook this up to a track and have it paint through. The cool thing about this compositing tool, right, is that we can actually use our Boris FX tools inside of this package. So this is Sapphire right inside of Silhouette, okay? And this is Sapphire Hue, Saturation, and Brightness right inside of Silhouette. And you can see as I click on them, so here's my original, here's my paint, here's my S Beauty, okay? And then we're actually compositing some roto back over the top to roto her eyes back out of that, okay? So now we're doing Hue, Saturation, and Brightness, and there's my output. So it's just like, imagine I was just hiding and unhiding layers, but instead I'm just clicking on nodes, okay? Because that's how a node tree works. The cool thing about this is, I don't know if you guys watch the technical nerd Emmys, but I got to go, which was nice. The nerd Emmys are fun because they have 6 awards to give away, and this year we won 3 of 6. Not to brag or anything. So we won for Silhouette, we won for Sapphire, and we won for Mocha Pro, so thank you for the applause, I love that. The other cool thing is, you know, the Oscars this year, every single Best Picture and Best Visual Effects movie at the Oscars this year used our tools on their products. So every single one, which is amazing. They're all our customers, including like Leica. They use Mocha Pro and Silhouette to do rig removals and all kinds of paint outs for their stop motion stuff, because stop motion, there's a lot of stuff in the scene that's got to go, you know? And they use the Boris FX tools as well to, like, you know, shiny things up. So let me just give you a really basic breakdown of what all our tools are, okay? Boris FX, big company, okay? Started off as a small company. Actually, there is a Boris. His name is Boris Yemnitsky. He's a nice guy. He's Russian, obviously. And, and he's very charming. And then we have Mocha Pro, Continuum, which is his original product, okay, and that was originally shipped with Avid. We have Sapphire, and we have Silhouette now. So we have 4 amazing packages. We also recently purchased, like, you know, a year and a half ago, Particle Illusion. That's part of the Continuum package now. Continuum Tool Set is a Swiss Army knife tool set that is for editors. It was originally for Avid, but what it does is it has some amazing tools in there. One of them is called Primatte Studio, which is a keyer that, like, literally is a click keyer. It's not a bunch of sliders that you have to mess with, although you can if you want to, but you can just click, click, and click the green away, okay? And what's really nice about that is it can even pull on gray screens and all kinds of other colors that are not necessarily pullable or keyable, but yes, they are. We've got our original footage here, which is this long pan. So it's a rookie mistake. You hate to see it. They blew the sky all to hell, okay? Like, what do you do with that? Like, well, there's only one way to save that, and it's with a matte painting, okay? Or a sky replacement or whatever you want to do. But here's the thing about that. That's a really long pan. Like, how are you going to get like a full-size sky replacement in there, especially, you know, if you're using something that translates footage for you? You can use what's called the mega plate inside of Mocha. And what that does is that does some really cool stuff. Let's talk about it. Let's go over to our effects controls, and let's go ahead and launch Mocha. We're going to take our spline tool. I'm actually going to take my magnetic spline tool, and I'm going to show you something else really cool about magnetic spline. So instead of having to go in here like this and sort of like track all the edges like this, what we can also do, we can draw, click and drag and draw. And that's pretty nice too. So you can actually freehand draw if you want to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and let's go ahead and let's see if we want to track this or if we want to just hold it out. I think I actually just want to really be lazy and just hold it out. So we're going to come over here and hold this out like this, and come over here, and we're going to just rotoscope this, because I don't want to rotoscope this whole entire shot. So we're just going to mess with that a little bit. There we go. Bring this down. Here's the cool thing about rotoscoping in Mocha is we have this bounding box where we can come over here and just hit, like, you know, Control and just sort of skew it down, skew everything up, and we can make this, like, you know, just hideous garbage matte. But the nice thing about the garbage matte is that if we're careful, what we can do is we can make sure that all of this stuff is held out. So the cool thing about this is I really only need to track a couple of things on this background. So I'm going to actually use a neat trick. We're going to call this foreground, and we're going to call this background. Okay, here's a cool thing in Mocha. I actually just did a demo on this. Like, literally, I just made a tutorial on this, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because it's cool. So we have this thing called Unlinked To Track, okay? In every other piece of software, we call this offset tracking, but in Mocha, we call this common sense, okay? Because the surface tool is where is what the track is doing, and the shape tool is what the where the track is looking, okay? We're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna just turn this on so you can see really well what's happening. We're gonna make it red so you can even extra see what's happening, okay? Our shape is gonna stay here, and our surface tool, we're gonna actually just use translations. We're actually just gonna use translation only, because this is a really distant pan, and what's that thing about ocular disparity? Things at the far, far away flatten out. You know, it's not gonna be moving in perspective. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just track translation only. And we're going to go to Link to Track, which says, here's my surface tool and here's my shape, and currently they're parented together, okay? I'm going to unparent them. I'm going to divorce them from one another. We're gonna say Link to Track, none. So now all of the texture that moves under the spline is gonna be read like a scanner. I wanna show you exactly how. So watch that surface tool and watch that shape. Shape is glued, surface tool's moving. This is a really good representation of how Mocha works, right? Because this is where the track is looking, and that's what the track is doing, okay? Now, the cool thing about this is once that track is done, which is actually still tracking faster than, we're GPU accelerated, so it's tracking not too bad. But What we're gonna do is we're gonna wait for this to get totally through, and then we're going to do a cool thing where we say, hey, make a mega plate out of this. And so, have you guys ever had to build like a matte painting out? Anybody ever had to do that? Yeah. So how do you do that normally? You stabilize a shot, you take a bunch of screenshots, you sort of combine them together. Maybe you used the Photoshop's auto combine and like prayed that things lined up correctly, or you did it by hand. Kind of a tedious process. What we've done is we've said, hey, Mocha, look at this track. Look at all the pixels along this track and build out a mega plate based on this automatically, which is really handy when you need to make a clean plate. So we'll let it get through, and then we'll show you how to do that. One of the things that you have to do is, because this is based on remove technology, so it's the remove module, but in reverse, okay? When the remove module was first made, it was actually a research project, and it got turned into this big thing where we realized that if you stabilized a shot, you could see behind the object if you rotored them out, okay? Because the pixels were they weren't. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take this shape and we're going to expand this shape just like this. And we're gonna make this shape cover the entire area. And we're also gonna do this thing where we go link to track and we're gonna link it right back to itself. So back to BG. Okay, and I'm gonna zoom out, take my Uber key, come over here, make this shape all the way over here. Okay, so now my shape covers the whole distance. Boop, boop, okay? So I'm going to say, go to Mega Plates, and I'm going to ask Mocha to create a mega plate. So we're gonna say, render. I'm gonna actually turn my mats off so this is a little impressive. Hit render. And it has to think about it because it's doing a lot of work. But it's doing a lot of work instead of me doing a lot of work. And I love to have a computer do the work instead of me. Okay, so there's my lovely clean plate, my lovely mega plate, Hugh, as they say. Okay, so I have a problem with my clean plate. Still got my foreground in front of it. That's no problem. Let's hit remove foreground. All right, so now I have my beautiful mega plate that I can actually create a matte painting with. So we're gonna save this. We can actually create the mega plate, save it somewhere if we want. But as I said, I've already kind of baked this cake for you, so I don't really want you to sit through making it, but suffice to say, we have a lovely mega plate right here that we can build out. We've added a bunch of stuff into it, and now, back in our project, we can go back to our mega plate here. So here's our original plate. We're gonna paint our matte painting in. There's our background. Here's our mountains back over the top. Obviously, I've taken some liberties and painted some stuff over it. Over here is a bunch of Hollywood stuff, even though this is nowhere near Hollywood. It's probably Vancouver, honestly. You know, we can put some nonsense in here if we want to. And now we can actually render that nonsense back into our footage. So, or, you know, we can actually have a nice looking one in here. So what I've also done is I've dropped a little sapphire lens flare in here to sort of sell it, re-put the sun back in, make it not so blown out. And so we have this lovely sky replacement from what was a really unfortunate shot, okay? Obviously we've used a lot of like garbage mats and like blending modes to get the top back over the front because I didn't really want to rotoscope the mountains very well, so I cheated. But you know, blending modes are your friend and they're for cheating. So that's the new mega plate tool inside of Mocha. So that's new in 2020. We're really excited about it. All right, well, thank you guys. A lot to cover.